So side mount is a position that I want you while you're a white belt, and honestly while you're a blue belt. I would love for you to spend this era of your jiu-jitsu journey thinking of mount next from side mount. That is what I want when you spar. There's no way I'm going to leave out submissions from side mount when I teach you, right? So you're going to know submissions from side mount. It's going to be super tempting. It is a really great hold down position. Because each other do jiu-jitsu, we get out of mount more easily than maybe side mount because we have a couple really good escapes for mount. But still, I always preface side mount week by saying, I really want your strategic objective from here to be to get to here. But this week's side control attacks, and so that's what we're going to do. So let's do this. Why don't you put your hands like this? Yeah, you're protecting your neck. Good. And generally, someone on the bottom is going to either be in this position, like karate chopping my neck and hip. He's either going to be like that, or he's going to have an arm under here. Okay, and we can talk about both situations, but for now I'm going to talk about this one right here. If he puts his hand against my neck, what we're going to do is an Americana, which I think some of you guys have seen from mount, and we're just going to do it from side mount. So I'll do one first so you see it. I'm going to collect his arm, trap it out, and catch him here. This is a shoulder lock. He's tapping because we don't bend this way. He feels it in the front of the shoulder. So the way I get him there, it can't just be that I try to sit up and try to pin it. There's like way too much airspace here. What I want to do is I want to start closing things down, stealing space from him, right? Because I'm the attacker. So I'm gonna stick my fingers here over his bicep and then attach his elbow to his ribs. Just by attaching his elbow to his ribs, I isolate what can move when I put my weight on to his distal arm. So when I lean on this, there's nothing he can do to get that back. And that's just body weight. And that's way better than me using arm strength also. So hold this to me. I use my chest to roll this out. And now, some people, when you go to do this, might punch their arm straight. Might go to hide his arm here, and now it's gone, right? That would be a defense. That would be a defensive movement that he could do. You don't want your arm over here either, though. Like, there's other trouble there. So when I do this, and I do this, and when I'm fumbling with it, he straightens it. Straighten it. Straighten your arm. Straighten this arm. Yes, thank you. So that, and hide it. So that I can't attack it here. That's the idea. To prevent that from happening, I'm going to peel this out with my chest, cover his forearm with my chin. So straighten your arm. Straighten it. Yeah, you can't. My chin's in the way. But I'm using my chin to keep it there while this hand feeds in. This hand feeds in. And when I'm pretty sure that this hand has got his wrist, then I don't need to use my chin anymore. And now I'm just putting together, relax if you can. I know we're close on a submission. If I can, I'm holding his wrist. And I'm going to try and hold my wrist with this weave here. And then I'm just doing this motorcycle grip thing here, this decelerating motorcycle grip. I don't need to put a bunch of arms into it unless he's super flexible. But most people, when they get in a tight Americana like this, when their elbow's against their body, it just doesn't take very much. If I catch it, relax. If I catch it out here, well, now it starts to look like maybe some more lifting and stuff like that. But when it's this tight against the body, he can't even move anywhere. So one more time, karate chop my neck and hip. Good. We're here. It's my hand goes on his bicep. I pin his elbow to his body. I'm doing that with my forearm bone, basically. I use my chest to peel out the arm. Keep it with my chin so he doesn't straighten it until my hand gets there. And then I'm trying to get my own wrist here. And then I'm going to do these decelerating grip rotations here. Okay, and that was the tap from him. So let's try it with each other. Does anybody have any questions before we? Let's try it with each other. Let's do it. 3, 2, 1. The hardest part of doing this move when you're live and you're with somebody else is going to be the first part, actually. So I would say, if you picture that, this is one thing and this is another thing, and they're stacked on top of each other, then for him, a favorable stack, you're gonna hear me use this language a lot, so his arm stacked favorably for him is just like this. Basically, his forearm inside of his bicep. The hardest thing for you when you're live is gonna be getting someone's arm to here. Absolutely gonna be the hardest thing. People are gonna fight tooth and nail. You're gonna fight tooth and nail if I try it on you. I mean, people just know, this is the beginning of the end in terms of like a shoulder line. So just going from here to here, which is why, jiu-jitsu being a game of inches and whatever. Those are important inches to him, and it's going to be the thing he fights the hardest to keep is this favorable stack here, inward instead of outward. So one of the hardest things is going to be doing this, which is why it's so good that we're using our body, our whole body, against, just this, against just that. That's why we do what we do. If I'm in side mount, I can't sit up and start doing this, he'll escape. So I do want to keep the space closed, and this move here, the technique, the way I show you, is a good way to solve the problem of like the hardest part, which is unstacking the arm. So keep the elbow close so that our chest does the hard work. My chin goes over it. If you weren't doing this in your last, sort of round of reps, try it. So let's have the bottom person, when I do this, if you can straighten your arm and hide it on this side of my neck, do it, okay? Okay, so I'm gonna do this, I unstack it, and then I start doing this, yeah, if he hides it, he wins. He just showed me something. He showed me I need to do a better job keeping it from straightening. So I'm gonna come underneath and use my chest to get it out, okay? So straighten it if you can. He can't because my chin's in the way, and that's why I was talking about keeping your chin over it. And then this hand comes in, and once my fingers basically get a nice grip here, again, he won't be able to straighten it. I can start putting my hands together here, and I'm giving him some slack here, so just so I can set up. But your finish, basically, since if some of you have not done an Americana from mount, the finish is basically going to be his elbow comes up, his wrist goes down, like that, yeah, and a little bit of his elbow comes toward his midline. Okay, because I'm in a yeah. Kind of hurt. So it's not just that the elbow goes up and the wrist goes down. I'm pulling it toward me. So this elbow comes like almost up over his stomach while the hand goes up. Okay? So this is how Pedro Sauer teaches a basic arm lock from side mount. And again, there's going to be a few little details. The reason for the details is to stop him from defending. So that's the reason you'll hear more details than, grab it and sit back. Let's say it's on the wrong side of my head here, right? Because this connects it to our last move. You don't have to hold me, but you just keep it there. Yeah, if I went for the Americana and it comes to this side of my head, there's a couple things I can do, but one of them is this armbar. So I'm going to take my lapel over here on the south side and hand it to this hand. This hand comes underneath and receives the lapel. Okay, so it's a gi move, gi entry. Now, I'm going to walk around his head, but if I start walking around his head, he can walk with me, and we can do that forever. So instead of doing that forever, you can see I have his arm isolated. To make this journey around his head, I'm going to block his hip with my hand. So I just bring this one over here, if it wasn't already. And now I can walk around his head. When I get about to 12 o'clock, my body, talking about, when I get about to 12 o'clock here, I'm going to bring my head to the other side, and off of active toes, I'm going to drive in. So I've got him rolled up on his side. Now I'm going to step my foot up behind his back. Behind his head? No. So it's not this foot. This one behind his back, and then I can step over his head here and sit back. I still have his arm in the catch that I started in the very beginning of the move, and now I can pinch my knees together, hug his arm, and sit back for an armbar. This armbar has phases, like every move has sort of phases. I isolate his arm, I get to where I want to be, and then I finish. Okay. So we're here. His arm is on the wrong side of my neck instead of near his face. You can't even see it. That's wrong. And I'm going to take advantage of it. I'm going to take my lapel with my south hand and feed it to my north hand. Now I have his arm stuck in a little hoop here, so isolate. Now I'm going to move where I want to be. Put my hand here so he can't follow. Walk around when I get to about 12 o'clock, and I bring my head to the other side. It rolls him up on his side. I can drive off my toes to get some weight behind it. Step up behind his back, and then his head. I sit back. Sometimes your foot will end up in the armpit like mine did. Depends what his arm is doing, but that's actually ideal. If I get this in the armpit, way harder for him to roll up or try anything like that. Now I'm really just going to hug his arm, pinch my knees, and sit back for the armbar. So I'll do one more with less talk, more rock. Here. I have to land my hips as close to him as possible. So when you get into this position here, where I've rolled him up, and I step behind his back, and then I step over his head, you'll notice I don't stand up real tall and then sit way far back here because his elbow's safe. He can bring it to the floor. I want to land here, like
So
as
can you show
close
the-
to him
Can you
with,
show the step?
as close to him with my hips as I can. So I'm gonna be here, and I just drove him up. So when I step up behind his back and over his face, just squat. Just sit, I'm like sitting on him so that I land like under him. I'm under your shoulder kind of, right? Yeah. And now I have the hold on. Let's try. I'll help you guys have the details. 3, 2, 1.